So over the weekend, the Democratic Party chose a new chair, and most of us were paying close attention. I intentionally stayed out of the conversation as long as I could, because for many reasons, mainly because you just get tired of, you get really drained with this. But now that it's over, I'll give my commentary on it. So the DNC chose Tom Perez. Tom Perez, who's not the gentleman on my screen. The gentleman on my screen is Keith Ellison, who was the pick of John Lewis, who was a pick of insiders like Chuck Schumer, right? So it's not like he was this complete pariah. And then, of course, he was the pick of Bernie Sanders. They chose to go in a different direction. I believe the breakdown was Tom Perez got 235 votes to Keith Ellison's 200 votes. One of the more disturbing things about it was the DNC's vote just prior to electing the chair. They voted to continue allowing corporate lobbyists and corporate lobbyist donations versus President Obama's ban on those very things. So the DNC could not wait to get this one particular monkey off their back. And you can, obviously, if you want to make that a racial thing, that's fine, be my guest. But they could not wait to get this thing that President Obama imposed on them, trying to be more populist, trying to show them the power of individual donations. Back in 2008, there was really no need for corporate. Bernie Sanders subsequently showed them the same thing in 2016, where he was able to compete on a national level against someone taking, obscene amounts of dollars from everywhere. And Bernie Sanders was able to do it with individual donations. The DNC wants that corporate dollar. It is disturbing that they chose Tom Perez for many reasons, not because of Tom Perez as an individual, but because of how the establishment, including President Obama, sandbagged the race and did everything they could to make sure that they had someone who could beat Keith Ellison, because they want, above anything else, to suppress the progressive wing, the Bernie Sanders wing of the Democratic Party. That is the most important thing to them. Damn winning elections, we just got to stop anybody who would actually advocate for leftist policies. So that's number one. Tom Perez is kind of a blank slate in many regards, really doesn't have much substance, except for the fact that he helped participate in the swift voting of Bernie Sanders to label Bernie Sanders as this as a person who's only popular with white bros. You can see the emails from I believe it's the Podesta leaks by WikiLeaks. You can see the email exchange where he was intricate in that. So besides that, he was the Secretary of Labor for Obama. Okay, whatever. But the things that stood out the most is the fact that he was the pick of the establishment, and they did everything they could to destroy the hopes of Keith Ellison from becoming the chair. The other thing that they did was this play that we've got to just call out every chance we get. It is this, oh my God, you're anti-Semitic. You don't agree with this right-wing administration in Israel. You don't agree with the occupation. You have the nerve to call it an occupation, or you have a nerve to speak out against the settlements and the expansion of the settlements. You have a nerve to say anything contrary to this right-wing administration in Israel and anything contrary to AIPAC, then you must be an anti-Semite. You think Palestinians are human beings? You're an anti-Semite. You think a two-state solution, which is actually the same thing America has always advocated for, you think that that's the right way and not a one-state solution? You're anti-Semitic. Oh my God, you were part of the Nation of Islam when you were a kid, and you spoke positively of Louis Farrakhan. You must be anti-Semitic, because as we all know, anything related to Islam is automatically anti-Semitic. And never mind the fact that the historical usage of the word Semite, it includes most Muslims, or at least regionally. So there was this barbaric, shameless, opportunistic, just, I don't have many, I've actually reduced my language to a lot of four-letter words when describing people like this. But you had douchebags like Alan Dershowitz, who actually, his prima donna ass said, if Keith Ellison becomes the chair, then I'm leaving the Democratic Party. That should have been a signal to everybody in the Democratic Party that, yes, we should elect Keith Ellison, if for no other reason than to get somebody as disgusting as Alan Dershowitz out of the party. But instead, alas, the swift voting and the labeling of anti-Semitism that was thrown at Keith Ellison won the day and gave the party back to the Clinton wing and to corporate lobbyists. And should we be surprised that, because a lot of the people who are actually in the room voting are corporate lobbyists, so should we be surprised that they want to do all they can to make sure that corporate lobbyists have as much influence as possible in the Democratic Party? No, we shouldn't be surprised. But before I go off on that tangent, I just got to go back to this piece of crap human being, one of the most disgusting people on the planet, Alan Dershowitz. And I want to play this clip so that you can see his gleefulness, but his continued attack on Keith Ellison even after Keith Ellison lost. Listen to this piece of crap.
I'm staying in the party because Ellison was defeated, and the Ellison defeat is a victory in the war against bigotry, anti-Semitism, the anti-Israel push of the hard left within the Democratic Party.
Okay, stop right there. The defeat of Keith Ellison. So in the mind of I don't know what it is. It's just this radical, in the mind of a human being like Alan Dershowitz, Keith Ellison represents Keith Ellison is someone against whom he must wage a war, because Keith Ellison represents bigotry. And Keith Ellison represents anti-Semitism. Keith Ellison represents all these horrible things. And he feels like this is a victory because he was able to beat somebody like Keith Ellison. So this is just one skirmish in the war against the anti-Semitism of the far left. Bernie Sanders is far left to this cat. But he would, if he could, he would make Bernie Sanders be an anti-Semite. I'm quite sure somewhere in some conversation, Alan Dershowitz has accused Bernie Sanders of anti-Semitism, even though Bernie Sanders is a Jew. But because Bernie Sanders actually spoke positively of the humanity of the Palestinian people, just like Keith Ellison, they've got to all be anti-Semitic. Let's listen to the rest of this fool.
I'm staying in the party because Ellison was defeated, and the Ellison defeat is a victory in the war against bigotry, anti-Semitism, the anti-Israel push of the hard left within the Democratic Party. Look, I wish that Perez hadn't appointed Ellison to any position in the Democratic Party, but I'm going to stay in the Democratic Party and work to try to move it toward the center, to try to move it away from the hard left, to try to move it away from its twist toward opposition to Israel and toward American values. It's going to be an uphill fight, but I'm there to fight that battle. We won this battle.
Bitch, you ain't fighting nothing. Shut up. All you're doing is sitting back. I'm sorry, kids. All the kids listening, I apologize. That's the only thing I'm going to say. All he's doing is sitting back and propagating and promulgating. That's the word I'm looking at. He's promulgating this hardline Israel policy that anything whatsoever, even if it's something that's beneficial to Israel, even though it may not seem beneficial to Israel, like a two-state solution, anyone who's advocating for something that they can quickly deem as opposition towards Benjamin Netanyahu's agenda is an anti-Semite. More importantly than the technicalities of the questions and the debates and the two-state versus one-state, the settlement expansion and the land swap, never mind all that. This is really just a political ploy to keep power in the hands of the Clinton administration, of the Clinton wing of the Democratic Party and corporate lobbyists. A part of him probably doesn't even really care whether or not Keith Ellison is anti-Semitic or not. He knows that lie will stick. That's ultimately what it is. It's the same lie that Debbie Wasserman Schultz was preparing to use against President Obama when President Obama, back in around 2013, was considering replacing Debbie Wasserman Schultz because she was so feckless. She was incompetent. She was at the tip of the spear of all of the losses that the Democratic Party suffered. So President Obama actually considered replacing her. And the first thing she did was recruited people to try to find a way to call President Obama anti-Semitic. Now, me being the dude that I am, I would have taken that head on. I would have said, come, please try me, Debbie. But President Obama, being this idealistic, I don't know what the hell was wrong with him, he decided to back down. Differences of people different. But I would have said, bring it. Like some lame ass congresswoman from South Florida was going to be able to stop the sitting president of the United States. Come on, Obama. What the hell, man? You should have nipped Debbie Wasserman Schultz in the bud when she tried this years ago. And this is the same political ploy that's used by Democrats. I'm trying to choose my words carefully here. It doesn't even matter if I choose my words carefully. In the comment section, you're going to see Ben is anti-Semitic, because it is a political silencing tool being used by the Democratic Party against progressives to suppress the progressive wing of the Democratic Party and just to maintain their power, even if that means destroying the Democratic Party across the country. It doesn't matter that they lost 900 plus, almost 1,000 seats across the country. They want to keep doing the same thing because they could keep paying the same corporate lobbyists and they can keep putting up the same people. Now they're doing all they can with Chelsea Clinton. I mean, I guarantee you they're spending about $100,000 in public relations to get all of these lame stories about how, Chelsea has so much snark on Twitter. Chelsea's found her voice and it's on Twitter. Is Chelsea Clinton the biggest threat to Donald Trump on Twitter? Get the hell out of here, man. So, because of all those things combined, the Democratic Party is quite comfortable losing, and they're going to keep losing. The only other thing, and I want to end this segment, but the only other thing that I have to say about this is that they want their cake and they want it to eat it too, right? So now they're coming out. Tom Perez has said that he wants to make Keith Ellison the face of the Democratic Party. Not power, not influence, not voting power, not position, because this little pittance of a position that he made up, deputy chair, is not even a real position, right? But he wants to make Keith Ellison the face so that they can assuage the anger of the progressive wing. Keith, bruh, I know you're smarter than that. I know you're stronger than that. And the only question is, maybe you feel like there's a strategy to be played out to justify you suffering through this insult. You're really gonna you're gonna have to make that plain to us, bruh, because this is adding salt to an open wound. This is bullshit, Keith. And the best thing for you to do, in my opinion, is to walk away from this burning ship that all they want is to maintain power at all costs, even if that means labeling you anti-Semitic.